they're nice cards. Pick a card at random.
Okay.
Show it to me. I want a tarot read it. Oh, I don't know what that is. Four of discs.
Four of
Or is that?
spades.
Oh no, four of swords. Four swords. I remember four swords. It's something. It's like a mental health thing. That four of swords. I wonder if it's rest. Does anybody know what four of swords is? How are you doing, Pierre?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I'm not wallowing in existential despair at the moment,
That's good.
but I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm wonderful. I'm back in Ibiza and I'm absolutely fucking loving it.
Yes?
Yeah, man.
Dude, it really is your home, man. That's awesome.
I just love it here. I'm just the happiest here. I'm always just so happy. So much happier here. And I've come to certain conclusions about where I'm from in the UK and everything. I'm just like, all right. I think I'm just gonna have to accept some truths.
What are the truths here?
Where I'm from is not Liverpool. Where I'm from is the Wirral, and it's a peninsula, like away from Liverpool, and it's semi-rural, semi-industrial. It's sort of between Wales and between Liverpool, and I don't like it.
That's the truth.
I don't fucking like it there. Intellectually, I like it. I'm like, wow, it's such a nice place, and it's everything you could want is there. And then I go there and I'm like, I am so miserable in this place. I hate it here.
I will say there's one thing that I think you can't concretely intellectualize.
Yeah.
And that's how you feel living somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I talk shit on California all the time, but I'm sure there are tons of people that just like the feeling there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can intellectualize my situation there or their situation there. But in the end, it's like some places just work better for some people.
Well, so here, I've been thinking about this. It's a bit of a taboo. Like, you're not supposed to say that.
Right.
Because it's like, you're never supposed to say that the environment is all that important. You're supposed to say, you always take the weather with you, and it's what you make of it, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a load of fucking bullshit. If you're in a horrible fucking environment that sucks, how are you supposed to be happy?
Exactly. And it's weird because some people choose to stay in impoverished places at times because they have a sense of belonging, community, or like there's just the overall better feeling there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine like you take somebody from an impoverished community, you throw them in a gated community. Are they gonna fucking like the gated community? I mean, maybe
not. Maybe not. Like here, when I'm here, I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. There's some restaurants and some cafes that I like going to because they're, how should I put it respectfully, they're like the working class end of the spectrum of where Spanish people are. But I don't like pretense.
Right.
I'm getting to an age where pretentiousness is actually becoming an allergy for me, and it makes me violent.
Yeah, but
so if you're just there because you can afford that coffee there and you're just there to eat, then I respect that. If you're there to be seen, I want to crush your trachea with my hand.
And also the type of a pretentiousness has evolved over the last 5-10 years. So now it's associated with something that you just, I mean, I have the same allergy. I've developed the same allergy, man.
Yeah,
I don't want to be around. Before, it could be like kind of a novelty to be in a pretentious setting and just deal with the circumstance, deal with the people. You kind of feel like, oh, I can play off this bougie ass thing. Now it's like with the current climate and the landscape, I have an allergy, a physical fucking allergy to this shit too.
Yeah. It's I wonder if with all of these things, like you look at there's things that happen in the unconscious, and that sounds very vague and very mysterious, but it's actually very practical. It's just that we can't always think everything that we're thinking all the time because we're thinking too much. So we see like 5% of what we're thinking. And I think with a certain type of pretentiousness, we know what it's connected to and we know what it's costing the world right now. Like signaling, because pretentiousness is basically signaling. Yeah.
That's what it is. Because so unconsciously we know that the pretentiousness is, let's just say, representative of the de-evolution of our communication as a society at the moment.
Yeah. It's costing everything.
Right.
It's literally costing what you just said, the disintegration and the devolution of everything. It's costing us everything because we won't be honest. We just won't. We won't do it.
Yes.
So I even in the gym now, like I have my favorite little gym by the beach, which hopefully you'll come here and you'll see it. And it's not the best gym here. It's like, it's rough, it's rusty, and there's bits falling off everything. But I got on really well with the owner. He's a really cool, down to earth dude. And I get on really well with people in there. But every once in a while you get a foreigner who struts through. And they're strutting through. And I'm like, oh, this is that other game. Yeah, what game are you're playing? Like, you're a big man. You're a big man. You're a big man. You're a tough guy. That game. And I'm just there going, oh my God, could you stop? Do you know how fucked the world is? Stop it.
You know, you just put into words what I've tried to put words to when I see somebody that's really well dressed pretentiously in Prague. I mean, I can be this person too, but I'm aware of what I'm coming from. But like when you see somebody who is taking themselves really, really seriously in terms of big man, Gucci flip-flops, like fucking brand name, everything top to down, and you see it in Prague, the context of Prague is so anti-fashion at times to a detriment because they can't really dress here. But like when you see somebody who puts that amount of effort, it's signaling that same thing. And there's such a contrast from the overall existing culture and how people's mentality is in terms of pretentiousness, and then seeing a supposedly pretentious person. It's not even like, oh, they're dressed so well. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, stop that.
Yeah,
stop. Who you trying to kid? I mean, dress well, dress however you want, but just don't come with an attitude, man. Because
right.
Like, I'm 60 years old now. After this, at least. I'm a 60-year-old man. Don't be coming at me with this young man shit. I just aged 20 years into. Don't test Grandpa. He's a mean, cranky old veteran, and he'll tear something off and keep it as a fucking trophy. Like, my patience is gone, man. It's gone.
Richie, you have seen my evolution in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
I have.
At one point, you got older than me.
Yeah, at one point, I'm pretty sure I just. And now we're maybe leveling out somewhere, man. Yeah, and dude, okay, I won't go too deep into this, but that reality show that I was on made me feel fucking old, man. Like, I really felt way above my age when I was interacting with these kids that were literally in their early 20s. That's not that far away from me, man. But after this last few months,
how's it feel, Pierre?
You know, it was an amazing time. That's what it was. But it was like, see these youngins out there, more followers than me. I asked them, so y'all influencers, what do y'all influence? And one of them literally said word for word, nothing.
I can just imagine that with a flat Czech inflection. Nothing. They were super unresponsive at first, and eventually they warmed up for me. But they cut out all of the flavor. Like, all of the spice and seasoning, all that's gone. And that is what it is. At least they made me look good. That's fine. But that's how it goes. Yeah, it's good. I mean, like you said, like we were saying privately, you do something like that. It's filmed spontaneously. In the edit, they can make you look like an asshole if they choose to. And I've had it done both ways in documentaries. One was so bad. That was the Vice one. I think about that. Like, I had to threaten them to not release it, which in the end, they changed it for me. And the other one was like a documentary I did that was it was called The Real Outlaws. And it's fucking garbage. Nobody can steal that, by the way. It's garbage. But the piece that I got on really well with the director, a guy called Pete Crystal, and he just made me look like I wasn't a bellend. And I was like, God, thank you so much for doing that, because it was really good promo for me. Really, really good promo. But I knew the footage he had. Like, he saw me get into a fight and he filmed it in Liverpool. And I was like, oh God, he could really make me look like a cunt here, but he didn't. He was really charitable. So take what you can get.
I have the opposite problem. I wish they made me look like a raging doucheaholic, man. You know, that's what reality TV is for, baby. I was expecting keeping up with the Kardashians, Jersey Shore type shit, you know?
Not in Central Europe. We don't want to make like this. It's very impolite. You don't look good. We don't do it.
Dude, before I forget though, what you were saying, like, it's complete bullshit. The aphorism, is that the word? That
aphorism.
When they say it's what you make of it, like you can be anywhere. It's just the people around you and what you make of it. It's garbage, man. Like,
it's total fucking garbage. Nobody can steal that. I've said for a second time.
It's you. And then you've lived like in multiple places around the world. I've just traveled a good amount, met a decent amount of people in each place. But there are just some specific locations that provide an unconscious energy that's suitable for you. And like, there's no rationality for that, you know?
Well, and Ibiza is one of these places where, you know, take it or leave it. Like, everybody says there's a good energy here. And you're like, oh yeah, does the energy come in pill form, you fucking dildo? There really is a good energy here for some people. And there's nothing going on right now. It's not really a party place. People aren't going crazy. It just fucking feels good to be here. I feel like me. When I'm back home in the world, I don't feel like me. The vibe I get from people is passive aggressive. It's snotty. People are fucking two-faced. They're not warm. And, you know, I got this from my mates from Liverpool. They told me what they think about world people recently, like only recently. And I was like, fuck, thank you for saying that. Now you saying that gave me permission to think that. Because before that, I was like, don't be that asshole who leaves your hometown and then spits behind him. Don't do that. Which I don't feel that way about Liverpool, but the world, I'm just like, I'm done. Absolutely fuck. I'll never try and move back there again. Never.
Yeah. And I mean, I obviously have the same situation with California, but I mean, you know, I've always tried to rationalize some like this thing. I'm like, what is it? Why do I have a problem with it and other people don't have a problem with it? Because like some people come to Prague, someone like you, and just you have a situation that maybe just doesn't harmonize to a certain degree. You know, I would like to go to Ibiza sometime soon too, and I'm curious to see how it'll resonate. Like, I don't know if it'll be the same, you know, but just certain people have a certain thing.
Well, right now, I was thinking this the other day as I was walking through. It might be a good time for you because of where you're up to, because there's a kind of a dystopian feel to it, and there are tourists here, huh?
Yeah.
So it's hot. And you fly in over Playa d'Embossa, which is one of the main party areas, and you look out the window, and the water slide park is disused, so it's muddy and green, and everything is covered in dust. And then there's little pockets of people partying, like in circles of 20. It's fucking weird, but it's not. It's, I don't know. There's some. It's kind of sad, but kind of hopeful in a way as well. Even under these circumstances, people still throw some music on and start popping out shapes.
So you got more of the desert Mad Max dystopian flavor over there.
It's that, like, some people have said this before, it's that frontier psychiatrist scenario. Like, because people say to me, what do you do? And I tell them, and then they're like, why do you do it here? And I'm like, well, I can do it anywhere. If I'm going to trawl through other people's, the detritus of their tortured childhoods, I'd like some sun, please.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I mean, yes, dude. So let's get into the nitty gritty.
All right.
Lab leak.
Oh shit! That stuff.
Dude, because like there was a lot of unveiling this last week that we didn't talk, you know, and I was like trying to like keep a mental note of the stuff that was occurring and there was so much in the last 2 weeks. So I'm like, we gotta like kind of cover some of these things, and that's the first one that I have written somewhere here.
Yeah, well, people usually say, I hate to say I told you so. Let me say it like this. I adore with my heart and soul saying I fucking told you all so. Everybody who's on this channel is down for this anyway. Like, I've been saying this since day dot. Oh no, day dot, I actually thought it was purely money. And then about 3 months in, I realized that it was actually a thing. But yeah, it's of course it's a fucking lab leak. Like, did it come from the market, or did it come from 50 meters away from the communist era massive library of dangerous viruses where they've been doing gain of function research with really low security protocols for years, and they've been warned by American scientists 3 times in the 3 years before 2019 that we know of, that was published, that was announced publicly. Where did it come from? And you're like, well, I reckon the market was the one. Yeah, that's it. That was the big one, right?
Yep, and they were apparently trying to design even a more infectious virus. Oops, fucking oops, dude.
Yeah. And what's the reason given for designing more infectious viruses? That as they mutate, they don't compromise as a zoonotic virus should on their contagion level or their virulence. Well, so that you can test antivirals and you can test vaccines on a subject group where the thing that you're infecting them with doesn't lose value over a timeline as a normal virus would and should. And why did they do all of that? For our safety. I said this on a Richard Willett interview recently, and people thought I was saying it unironically. So let me do the air quotes thing. I'm being sarcastic. For our safety, they do this shit. For our safety. It's not, but what that sarcasm means is it's not for our safety.
Right. Let's create a more bigger dangerous virus for our safety, and let's not tell you guys where it actually came from. Well, I guess my situation with this is what's really overt is the media's tone overnight. Like now we're allowed to talk. Like what? Like now we can?
What do you mean? Facebook actually had a moment. I don't know what time it was.
Yeah.
Or what day it was, but they had a moment. It was like Schrodinger's cat of truth. They flipped the switch and said, we'll no longer remove posts that say this.
Right.
And I'm like, where do you keep your giant King Kong sized balls?
Right.
Are they at the Hadron Collider? You cheeky bastards. That's not your fucking job. But that's what they did. They sat around in a room and they went, well, okay, I guess it's time to change the narrative. So they just fucking let it go. And now it changes. That which is permissible truth changed, not overnight, with the flick of a switch.
Right. And I don't understand how the average mind can even defend, not even like, how do you defend the situation where there's a giant power that exists that gets to choose when you can and can't talk about things? It doesn't get any more overt than this. You'd be like, oh, but it was during a time where things were still trying to be figured out. So now after time has passed, now you can't see that they have our best intentions in mind. Is that how they would go about it?
So you used the phrase there, and I found it interesting. The average mind. What do you think now of the average mind, Pierre?
Oh, well, all my hope for human potential has definitely diminished exponentially. That's something I'm still trying to struggle with. So my therapist here is about twice a week.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like it's on my mind a lot. Like, what is the average human mind? What are people really thinking? Are they really thinking? Are we devolving? I mean, there's published research that suggests that we're becoming, our IQ levels are dropping. And I'm not being ironic. I'm not being facetious. That's actual published research. Our IQ levels are dropping. Our concentration spans are dropping. And it's clear that many are not thinking. And we do have to, like, you know, if I'm going to be Bill Gates for a moment, to be like, let's look into the future and consider what the big threats to humanity are. He decides after reviewing everything that it's either climate change or a pandemic. I would say human stupidity is the greatest threat to humanity at this point. And that again, I'm not trying to sound clever. I mean that in a literal, granular way, because power is so democratized now. We've got a really good chance of killing ourselves because we're so fucking dumb. And there's so many of us that if you have like a dumb section of society that becomes ideologically infected, well, that could be a 40 million strong army. That's no joke.
Right. I was with someone today, and it was just one little quick exchange here, and it was just like a passing light joke. But now I think about it, there's some truth to it, and I was just kind of like, I think I'm more fearful of people's intentions than actual COVID. You know, and I'm not fearful necessarily, like I'm scared of people, but like the I guess I'm more worried, not worried. What's the right word? I am more aware of the danger that exists within human uncertainty or fear or whatever than the actual physical, biological shit stain that's going to make us cough to death. You know?
You should be, because that particular shit stain that's going to make us cough to death was known to be a very horrible bug that definitely came from a lab that's mixed with awful things in awful conditions. But the mortality rate that it would bring about just wasn't that great. So there's never been a reason to fear it. Let me say this here and now. And I say this with it's not a gleeful thing that I'm saying. You want a nasty flu season that kills people? You look at 2021. We have one hell of a flu season coming. People will die in huge numbers now because of the lockdowns and because of the social distancing and because of the weakening of the immune systems and because of the keeping alive of people who would have otherwise died. 2021 going into 2022 is going to be one hell of a ride as far as mortality rates go.
And just to make everyone feel a bit more comfortable with that, Richard has been right 9 out of 10 times with your predictions.
Well, the big one that I got wrong was when I was saying that this is only about money, that this is only about changing money. I think that is on the table, but I conflated two separate agendas.
That's a symptom. I think the money wealth exchange is not exactly just completely predetermined and planned. I think that was a gear set in motion that allowed for that to happen. Like that, it was kind of like, oh well, it's happening. Well, might as well just
Yeah, exactly. So there was longer term plans, I think, were rushed forward and screwed up. There's been so many screw ups. I mean, if you just look at the UK government alone, they have bungled so much, and thank God, and thank God that they have. And there are inevitabilities about the way power goes and the way that money has to flow. We have to change our money system. I mean, it's not. We can either do it in an adult way and be like, hey kids, we broke capitalism. It's been broken since before the 2008 crisis. We broke all of the rules and we bailed people out, and basically we killed capitalism. We're now in a weird Frankenstein, long dead zombie body chimera of socialist capitalism that should have died years ago. We have to change it, but they won't do that. They won't treat us like adults. They just fucking well won't do it. So what do? They rely on old methodologies, which is hide it all behind the crisis. But no, I would say the longer term plan is about money, but that this was not. They were not together. These two things were not side by side.
Yeah, well, it was just I guess. Strategically, it was just waiting for a certain situation to happen to roll out the plan. It could have been this. It could have been an actual war brewing, which it is now. Maybe that's
which it is now,
and whatever else.
Well, look at the softening that woke culture has given us. You might look at that and say, if we keep everybody wokey for 10 years to 2030, everything is morally relativistic. You're neither male nor female. You have no national identity. You don't care about individual rights anymore. why would you even care about your individual capital? What do you think this is? 1825, granddad? Like, move on, own nothing, be happy.
Yes.
And if you soak everybody in that ideology for long enough, it will be the cool thing to do would be to just switch to the social credit system and, you know,
Well, I mean,
and not worry about it.
as the spying, peering eye into the younger generations on social media, what I see right now is a current trend of these videos being like, I don't dream of labor. I think that's the hashtag. I don't dream of labor. And it's a kind of movement right now to reject all forms of working, and like a rejection towards like, I don't want to just spend my life working for a thing. I don't want to be this. And it's really pushing towards what you would call UBI, universal basic income, but more so, it's just like, I don't want to fucking work anymore. It's just a waste of my time and energy.
I will not go off on a rant, but I also keep up with it on TikTok. And I love how these fucking kids, they literally say this to each other in the comments: communism means no work. And I'm like, if there was a communist takeover, you would be a fucking farmer within days. You would work 12 hours a day until your hands bled, fighting to keep the food flow going. And even with you doing that, most people would still starve. I won't get into the whole rant of that, but that is, let there be no confusion. Everybody would be a farmer or a factory worker, or they would be in the military and forcing people to be factory workers and farmers, and it would still fall apart for a multiplicity of reasons.
Let me throw a cyberpunk twist in the situation, because everything is like a Frankenstein version of what it used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, like, if it were to go down this path, it wouldn't. I personally, I don't know if it would be people being subjected to farming and factory workers. It would be like a hyper pod matrix consumption bubble, where it's almost already kind of like that, but like to some crazy methed up version where that happens, and then everything is extremely automated. So we have the Bezos, the Elon Musk, Bill Gates thing. Sprinkle that in there to do all of the manual labor, and then everybody's just sucking on a teat, and complaining about fucking whatever the hell,
Okay, so there's two paths. Let's imagine that this is like a sci-fi novel. If there is a communist revolution that's hard and violent and fast, you end up with it would be real communism. It would be not real. It would be a standard socialist, violent socialist revolution. That's my dark land. Your one would be a technocratic version of communism, where the oligarch elites are living the capitalist dream, whilst all of the slaves are in communism. And yes, it would be a retraction into the pods. So this one's organized and takes a long time, and is like it's soft. Nobody needs to die because everybody will willingly get into the pods at this point.
They're decaying.
Yes, they're slowly decaying. In my rapid violent revolution, there would just be huge bloodshed followed by years of toil and starvation. Both are awful. I mean, both are. There's just no future for humanity, basically, in either of them. I'm not saying that. By the way, I'm not creating a scenario where this is inevitable. I'm just juxtaposing the two possibilities, and they're both effectively communism. Yes, you could end up with farming and factory work for most, or you hold the rifle that shoots the gun that kills the people who refuse to work, or you slowly podify as a peasant in a neo-feudal system, whilst your oligarch masters say, hey, the Neuralink is ready for you. We'll jerk you off 16 times a day.
And
you know
what determines this?
Hmm?
The rising tensions between China and the US. So depending on where this goes, it's either going to go one way or the other, or it happens both at the same time in different places around the world.
Well, you raising that brings me back to the thing that I said before that I think I got wrong. The one thing where it might not be wrong for me to have said from the beginning that this is to do with money is not from our governments trying to take our money, but from our governments trying to impose a communist takeover and take the money and the individual rights that your money represents. Because if you have no capital, then you're nothing. You're just a grey man, a grey woman. It could be China's doing. I mean, China's doing okay right now, thanks. They're flourishing, whilst the rest of the world is floundering. China has seen unprecedented growth in 2020 economically, whilst the rest of the world's floundering. It would be wrong to say, therefore, they did it just because of cui bono, just because they benefited means they're guilty. It is a little suspicious.
No, I mean, dude, this whole societal disintegration, the demoralization, the crazy uptick in this weird political woke narrative, the softening of a culture and a society, the division of that, and then all of a sudden virus hits, and then like boom, rising tensions between, like, okay, come on, like that, it can't be just all coincidental here. And one thing that I'm still trying to like maybe figure out is this divide, especially with this new woke narrative situation. Is that implemented within the native government of the U.S., or was that sprinkled in the way that Yuri talked about to have a long-term dismantling of the system? Is that an innate, intention, or a native intention, or did it come from an external source?
It could be both. It could be both. If you looked at it as like a military strategy, and imagine that everybody, at the highest levels in China, imagine they wrote a book, which they did, stating what their long-term military strategy against US to defeat them as a superpower would be. You would want, over a timeline, you would want they call it the long slow march through the institutions is what it's called. So it literally takes 30, 40 years for your guards to sort of make their way up from student level to the top levels of the institution. So your police force is woke, your army is woke, your banks are woke, your government is woke, your CIA is woke. And we may be seeing that. We may be seeing the product of generations going back to the 60s of the long, slow march through the institutions. So that's the timeline. That was the Yuri Bezmenov idea. The seeds of the virus were planted, and now the crop is ready to be harvested. And then now in this timeline, I mean, look at the way the world is now. If I walked up to a governor or a politician in America with my big white face, and I was like, you have friends who've been watching you. They're in the East. I won't say where they are. And they want you to have a gift. Would you like that gift? Yes, I would. Well, here it is on marked bills. There's just a couple of little things you understand, don't you, that we need you to do. And I think there's plenty of that going on as well. Plus what you see in Liverpool and what we've seen, I don't want to get too deep into it, but what we've seen across the whole of the UK is the infiltration of the academic institutions by largely Chinese students. The Liverpool economy is being held up right now by China, not just because of all the luxury apartments they've bought there, and because they own huge swathes of land in the UK. Most of the property in London is owned by China, Chinese interests, and Liverpool's a perfect example of that. And Chinese students are the ones who hold up our economy because our tourist economy has gone to shit.
So do you think like these seeds were dropped off, then with some more deals and maybe some monetary incentive, other external parties just like kind of swooped in and utilized that, and then by then it was kind of ramped up until the point where it was too late that the native government itself had to adopt it in order to get the people to listen to them?
I mean, if I answer that question naively, it'll clang against people's ears and some people will spit it out. So all I would say is I'd reframe it. So I go, okay, imagine there's a movie. Imagine where you and I and the people watching this, we're all sat writing a script. And that's the script. What you've just said is like, it's just gotten into everything. And you kind of have to, like, Biden has to tell people, I think he just announced that in the Chinese got us. Are you back, mate? We're back. Didn't Biden just announce that he's changing the Medicare policy in
I don't
America.
know
So,
about this. No.
oh, whites are deprioritized now. Hmm. It's good. It's good to be an American, which is a 70% majority white country. And I mean, I'd love to try this in any other country in the world. I'll go to Nigeria, I'll go to Ghana, I'll go to Malaysia, I'll go to China and say to them, you are now no longer the priority of this country. Nobody should be racially discriminated against. It's insane to do this, but that's what's happening under Joe Biden. This is just months after he declared that he was going to prioritize business care for, again, non-whites. Like if you were white, you'd go to the back of the queue as far as business aid went.
The fact that anybody can be prioritized based on just the skin color of how they were born, bro.
Yeah, we like it, don't we? We love all that.
It's progress, dude.
Yeah, this is progress, baby. Look at your progress, kids. Look at your fucking progress.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah. I mean, regardless, like, I think the best way that I've looked at it in terms of how to properly explain the overarching situation here is just imagine you were the enemy's superpower,
right.
And just take a step back. Don't identify so much of what side you're on, but just simulate being on an opposing superpower and look at what's happening in that nation and see how fucked up it is to a point where it just makes it so much easier for you to destroy it. Actually, let it destroy itself.
Well, so that's what I was going to say is like if you're a screenwriter and I'm a screenwriter and the people watching are screenwriters and we sit there and we go, look, this is Pierre's. We've all got ideas for the script. Pierre's proposal for the script is that it's already infiltrated. How believable is that story? How believable? Do you believe that the major institutions of the West, not just America, but Canada and the United Kingdom and so on, are so infiltrated with this stuff that it's like a structure that is eaten through by termites, and the structures are just hanging on by threads? They're creaking. They're ready to fall, such that when the enemy comes, there won't even be a fight. It will just collapse. The whole thing will just collapse.
Yeah, okay,
in the preparation for the fight, a total collapse would occur.
I realized that. Okay, so I was thinking how when I see stuff of especially younger generations or whatever who believes the main narrative of things that don't necessarily believe that there is an underlying agenda, intention, or procedure that's existing or has been existing, I was thinking, why? I've been trying to watch movies and I came across Now You See Me, which was like a magician's movie. It's like a Hollywood production and it had a bunch of crazy big name actors in it.
Yes. Never
Like,
saw it, but I know the one you mean, yeah.
So it's very, very Hollywood. Like it's nothing that's gonna make you like rethink your philosophy in life or whatever. But being a magician back in the past, I was roaming around the magic circles. I would try to figure out every single trick that's ever been done, and the overarching or underarching concept with a lot of magic tricks is that there are 40 things happening before you, like, when you see this card right here, this too, I already did like 3 things you didn't even realize because now I have the 8. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that itself is always implemented with these what do you say, socio-political systems, and especially now in what do you call this, 4th generation warfare, whatever you want to call it, propagandistic information war.
Mm-hmm.
This is all magic tricks. This whole thing of planning what information to send out, how to maneuver people's influences and what they believe, and saying one thing while they're fidgeting with the thing over here. So natural to me because I grew up doing this since I was 9 years old, 3 years old. I understand naturally how a magic trick functions, and I think that to the average person or just most people, like, they're not really interested in magic. it doesn't really mean that they're stupid, even though most of them are. But the way to speak this language is not organic. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you try to explain to somebody that when they say this here, 40 other things are happening right there. And they will just never get it. They just see the card change. You know, I mean, like, what can you do?
Yeah, and if you're entrained to sort of think that way, you'll always be thinking whatever I think I'm saying is definitely not what I'm.
Exactly.
It's not what I'm saying. It's something else. It's something else. And distraction is a big part of that. And feeding people what they're expecting to see is a big part of that as well. But no, I think that there's. I'm not saying I've made my mind up with it, but there's a strong case for saying that this is part of a long-term strategy for one superpower to take out another superpower without firing a shot or firing as few shots as possible, because you just wouldn't want to do that. I mean, it would just become nonsensical, really. I mean, you know, and also we have the mutually assured destruction problem, which has been there for decades as well. Like, you can't just nuke them because they'll just nuke you. And you know, it doesn't end well for either side. So that there has to be another strategy. There has to be a way of doing it through propaganda instead. And you have to convince John Cena that when he says that Taiwan is a country, that he apologized in Mandarin.
I don't know how anybody could deny. Well, it's easy for us to say. It's like what we just specialize.
People can deny whatever they want, Pierre. That's what we've learned. You can show them all the evidence, and they can just be like, blah, 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 blah. No, no, no.
Well, I mean,
just do as you're told.
Did you even see that Fauci even said in his emails, he said that he knows masks don't really work, but we have to do it anyways?
He did openly say that at the beginning of the pandemic. He said you don't need them because they don't do anything. He openly said that in more than one news conference. And then, I don't know, he did don't listen to that. Now everybody wear a mask.
Just like, how could anybody in the most, even just like lower tier conscious people, with the amount of lying that we have seen, everybody's been lied to at least once, 3, 4, 5, 10 times with this whole situation. How do you just choose one statement or one instructional procedure to just, but that one's okay? You know, like what weighs it out?
There's two signals. There's two signals from one source. One's red, one's blue. I only listen to red, baby. He said blue. I only listen to red, and that's what makes me a good red person, because I'm ready red, baby. I don't listen to blue. End of story. And you're like, really? Do you call that thinking? I don't need to think because I'm ready red, and I'm red, and all I listen to is red. All right. People have conflated obedience with virtue.
That's what it is. Nice.
Terrible mistake.
Nice.
Thank you.
I like that, man. I like that.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. I'm in love with my own ability to say a clever thing. Once every 2 years, it pops out.
Obedience as virtue. That's a slave morality thing, right?
100% Nietzsche's slave morality. We're living through the consequences of it. And, you know, we've been drinking from that poison chalice for, my God, you know, not just centuries, millennia. We've been drinking from the poison chalice of slave morality for a long time for various specific historical reasons. And of course, the chickens would always come home to roost eventually. It's amazing we've got away with it for as long as we have.
What's like the synopsis of slave morality that ties into obedience is virtue?
Don't make me hurt everyone's feelings, Pierre.
Come on.
Okay, so Nietzsche's slave morality needs a little historical context. It was the idea of the early Christians who were Jews. Of course, they were following a rabbi, and their stance as they were being persecuted by the Romans who ruled over them was they have all the power, they have all the wealth, they have all the sexual freedom, the physical pleasure, the physical power. We have none. We're wretched, we're lowly, and really we know in our hearts we should rise up and kill them. That's the only thing that is the only logical thing to do. But we're cowards. Now, I have a problem. I want that wealth. I want that booty. I want that power. I want the violence, but I'm a coward. And I can't look at the fact that I'm a coward. Okay, let me retell the story to myself then. I'm not a coward. My courage is in submitting. My courage is in obedience. My courage is in virtuous, what do you call it, where you don't take your pleasure now, you offset it till later? What is it called? It's a key principle of psychology. Somebody in the comments help us out.
I know, but yeah.
Delayed gratification.
There it is.
So listen, my child, Daddy, why do we let the Romans piss in Mummy's eyes on a Tuesday? Well, my child, we let the Romans do that because this world is not the real world. Daddy, it feels very real when the Romans spank my bottom. Well, it's not real, my child. Only heaven is real. And in the Father's house, there are many houses. And when we die, we'll be welcomed there and we'll be kings. And all the Romans will be under our feet in hell. What will happen to them in hell, Daddy? They will be tortured in hell as we've been tortured in life. It's the most pathetic, wretched, coward's revenge fantasy you could imagine. And it's the slave. Nietzsche called it slave morality, but people can think of it as a slave's philosophy, a slave's approach to life. The master morality is different. The master morality is its opposite. It's awful in its own way. Both are awful. The master morality is might is right. Take what you can. If
toxic masculinity,
and it's colonize, rape, steal, opportunity, build, grow, power. You look at like the life of Julius Caesar. Have I talked about this before? I don't know if I'm fucking repeating myself. Oh, I never told you about Julius Caesar being taken by the pirates. Perfect example of master morality. So Julius Caesar, he's fucking roving around. He's conquering everything and building his name as a young Roman. I don't know what rank he would have had. Let's say whatever, or the young Roman general. Pirates take him. The pirates kidnap him. They could have tortured him. They could have defiled him physically. He didn't give a shit. He started telling the pirates off. He was criticizing their clothes. He criticized their hygiene. He criticized their food. And they were like, this motherfucker. And he was like, you better get me some better food. They said, we're going to ask for a ransom, Julius. We're going to ask for 30,000 gold denarii. He was like, fuck you. 75,000 gold denarii or nothing. I won't leave the ship. And so he forces them to ask for more than double. They go and ask for more than double. As they're waiting for the money to come, he bores them with his poems, he sings for them, and he forces these fucking pirates to listen. He bores them with his speeches. He's like, what do you think of my speeches? And if they said it was boring, he would tell them off. That's master morality. Eventually, they take the ransom. They release him. He gets on his ship with his mates. He pursues them, catches them, and takes his money back and crucifies them all. It's big dick energy, baby. Julius Caesar.
That's pretty extreme, man.
Stay toxic, kings. That's master morality.
Just him blasting Future on the pirate ship.
Over the screens.
Ain't no Gucci flip.
Ain't no disrespect. He sailed away. He was like, ain't no disrespect. They're like hanging on crosses. Come back, Julius. Ain't no disrespect.
So there's somewhere in the middle, in between those two, that I think is a better option.
I mean, people should read Nietzsche, or if you can't read it directly, then read around Nietzsche and have a think. Like, how should we live? Do we want to be dominant monsters? We can't all be dominant monsters. Some of us are not built for that shit. You know, if the Mad Max dystopia comes, I'll probably be all right. Ain't no disrespect. But some people won't. I'll be there in the Gucci flip flops, baby, with a couple of AK-47s and a gold chain swanging. You better watch out if I come down your street.
Damn, boy, you ready? Look how happy you are, dude.
I'm delighted. I'm like, bring them out. Bring them out. It's hard to yell with a barrel in your mouth. So Nietzsche wasn't saying like be the master. He was saying look at this slave morality, because he was raised in a very Christian environment. People think he was anti-Christian in essence. He wasn't anti-religion or anti-Christian in essence. He felt like Christianity had become corrupted, and I 1,000% agree with him. Look at the Jesus of rage in the temple, tossing over the tables and being like, don't defile my father's house with your filthy money lending. And the Jesus who said, don't worry about churches and all that shite. And they were like, well, where, master? Where, rabbi? Where do we meet? And he was like, when you get together, if you get together in my name, that's a church. That's your church. No churches. You just meet, you're in a church, done. So it was a very working class revolutionary, really. And then it got okay, so fine. That's with the idea of obedience being a virtue in a nation of cowards who don't have the strength to rebel, who hope. They hope it will be okay one day. They hope it will be okay. And I believe sincerely now that people have internalized the idea that their reward will be in heaven. They don't literally believe in afterlife heaven, but they believe that if you believe your reward is over there or up there, maybe you think you'll win the lottery. Maybe you think you'll have your own hit single, or you'll be famous, or you'll do like a sex tape and you'll become a celebrity. Over there is heaven. I think that's why we watch so much celebrity TV now. We don't have heaven. We think if we get rich, we transcend the pain of this world and we move up, and we don't. So people live in toxic hope, and Nietzsche hated hope. He said, let me try and quote it properly, hope really is the worst of all things because it prolongs the suffering of man. Kierkegaard, on the other hand, said despair. Despair is good because despair creates change. When we hope, we stay the same. We just soothe our wounds and we're like, oh, it'll be okay. Let's just keep going, keep going. The Romans will change one day. They'll stop pissing in your mother's eyes on a Tuesday night. They'll stop doing what they want with us and enslaving us. They won't. Despair, go crazy and become a zealot. Become I think we talked about this before, like the modern word for sicario, which is like an assassin for the cartel. Mm-hmm. That goes right the way back to Roman times. The sicary, it means a dagger, because there were genuine religious knotters, Hebrews, who were like, fuck this, I ain't alive. I love God. I want to be with God. If I can kill a few Romans on the way, I'll kill them. And they would just shank them up in the streets and then be tortured to death, boiled, torn apart, whatever you like. But that was a real threat to the Romans. So they didn't like that. They wanted people in slave morality mode. Be a good sheep. Be the sacrificial lamb. You'll get your reward later. Obedience is virtue. The Christian church literally tells us that. To be meek as lambs. I don't believe that was Yeshua's original teachings. I don't believe it at all. Not for 1 second. Rise up.
Well, that was a lot there. Where do I begin?
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for tonight, folks. See you next week. Bye.
I'm just warning you. You're a bit choppy right now. Your internet connection's a little frizzy, so I can still hear you.
It's the fucking papists. As soon as the Catholic Church got onto me, they send interference.
So okay, where do I begin? So I'm revisiting Fight Club. That's something that keeps coming around. I think I'm at the age of it where I really start understanding the underlying concepts of it. And I've seen a few analysis. There's tons of analysis videos on YouTube at the moment. I'm kind of scouring each one to see what each of them are saying. And one of them does talk about Nietzsche's slave morality here. And the initial character, the narrator, just lives like a really domesticated life and with trying to figure out what IKEA furniture matches his fucking dishes and shit. And like obedience is a virtue, something that supposedly is supposed to make you a better person. You're well-to-do, you work at your office job. Like that is where your morality comes from. And obviously that's not exactly the answer. But I guess Tyler Durden comes in as he would be like the master morality in that situation, right?
Uh,
Almost.
definitely Nietzschean morality. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I got this. The whole thing, it like basically explores the idea of meaning, and especially in the postmodern domesticated world where everything is slave morality. Like, what exactly are we supposed to do? Like, what's the answer here? Do we just stay obedient forever? And then eventually, if you do follow this path, and you don't align yourself with, what do you call, what, the Jungian shadow or sense of a higher purpose that goes beyond obedience, then it might come around and bite you in the fucking ass in the most violent way possible. Because what happens is this narrator ends up fucking everything up, starts the fight club and starts destroying the goddamn city because of how long you stay in this mindset of just listen and just do as you're told and everything should be great. And then I think you mentioned the idea of hope here, and this is something that I've been really juggling with. You said that people are acting as if they will be rewarded in heaven, the afterlife, or something. And I agree with that, because when I talk to people about this current predicament that's happening, I'm going to get pretty nihilistic here, but
Go ahead. People need to hear this one.
Yo, dude, this is like something I'm really juggling with. Then this Fight Club thing, this kind of intersects where I'm at. Green screen room, ring lights, fucking whatever. We're showing up on a fucking reality show, hanging out with influencers. Yeah, that type of thing. And so when I talk to people about this current situation, the lockdowns, the COVID, the stuff, the blah blah blah, they always have their eyes set on the better, the hope of heaven, the peaceful utopia after this is over. And in my head, I'm like, what though? When we can just go back to normal? I mean, what is that? That's heaven?
Yeah.
That heaven is the non-existence of lockdowns and pandemic? That's personally not what I consider a peaceful utopia, paradise, Garden of Eden heaven. That's not what I would think that is.
It would be an enormously, I don't think it is this. I don't think they have the wits for this, but it would be very clever, wouldn't it, if you could entrain a group of slaves through a crisis to believe that their life on the plantation was the best thing imaginable, right? Yeah. Never rebel. And if your kids rebel, you'd be like, you don't know. You weren't there in 2020, right? We know this is as good as it gets, kids. I don't think it is that. I would go one step further there. When I hear people say, oh, when this is over, I'll straight up like, this isn't going to be over. Right. Sorry to everybody who finds that depressing. Well, I don't see this as ever going to be over.
But okay, there's only two options, right? It's going to be over, or it's not going to be over. Regardless, you have one option of it won't be over, which is going to be it's going to go on for a fucking while. Like, the world has changed and people are going to use the situation to make whatever they want out of it. Or it is over, and then you go back to what? Then what way? I mean, I honestly, like, what am I going to do? Show up on another reality show? Fucking twist my nips around? Add a clamp there because I'm bored and I want to make things more exciting? It's like, I can see though the utility in having the afterlife and the heaven and the paradise. I mean, fuck, if we didn't have that at all, we will just all blow our brains out, because that's a really heavy thought to manage. But I mean, I think about the utility of a situation like that. It would definitely like allow me it's like I simulate myself, like, man, if I just totally went full on heaven, whatever the fuck else, whatever religion you want to choose with an afterlife, then I could just like, everything's okay. I'm just doing this. It works in mysterious ways. I'm paying my dues now, and everything will be fine afterwards. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah, it does screw with the system somewhat, doesn't it? Of being like, okay, put up with it now because everything will be okay later.
Yeah.
I really want to actively encourage despair because I do. I think I honestly, we've never had a better moment for an authentic revolution than this one right now. Never. And if we don't have an authentic revolution, it's going to get really, really bad. Really, really bad. Our governments are grifters. It's all a grift. 99% of what your government is doing is pure fucking gangsterism. Pure 99% of what all of our governments are doing is pure fucking gangsterism. They're just tax collectors. They're just fucking tax collectors. That's all they are. Occasionally they act like gangsters. They go and beat up some brown people in a poor country somewhere, let everybody know how it is. They might send the police out for you, but they don't do anything. They just grow like a fucking cancer. They're a big fucking cancerous tumor that sucks all the life out of the body. And look at where we are now. It's insane how much power our governments have. All of our governments. I couldn't name a place in Europe that isn't overwhelmed by its government. I can name a place in America. It's called Florida. But other than that, I can't name a place where the government hasn't got wildly out of control, insanely drunk on its own power. And if we're not going to push back on this now, what do you think? And we'll just be 5 years older and 5 years more fucking depressed and 5 years more locked down in 5 years' time.
And that's why you should take the injection from the patriarchal government, right?
Because that'll slow you down, stop you breeding. It takes away the God gene. It takes away the belief in transcendence and the afterlife. It takes away the will to live and to fuck and to dance and to enjoy. It turns you into a non-human fucking zombie.
Yes.
Eat them. They deserve death and cannibalism. So let's kill and eat them.
So I think, like with everything, there's nuances to everything, right? And
there might be nuance to the statement I just made. I don't know.
No, that's why we.
Richard said, "Kill Boris Johnson and eat his flesh."
/ sarcasm brackets.
Yes.
Like, Jesus Christ!
Please don't arrest me.
Yeah. So because I look at this and I compare it back to Fight Club because the Tyler Durden and his new. What was it? Destruction. The fucking what's the second Project Mayhem to destroy all the buildings and whatever the hell else. That was the solution to whatever force that they were fighting, and I think that that's appearing in subsections of Seattle, Washington, and Portland. And
look how Antifa dress, and then compare them to the Space Monkeys of Fight Club, and consider the ethnicity and the look of.
It's exactly Fight Club played out. It's
fucking frat boys. It's white frat boys trying to tear down the system. Who think tearing down the system is smashing up Starbucks? That's an actual scene from the film.
And instead of his name is Robert Paulson, his name is blankety blankety blank. I'm sure you guys come up with a few names that was repeated multiple times in the year of 2020. But I think that there needs to be some sort of evaluation of how to approach this type of rebelliousness in a conscious, objective way, because the way that this rebellion can end up is the way that Project Mayhem did, which is what you see with Antifa and everything else, because they're just fucking shit up, like there's a nihilistic destruction to that with no exact plan or purpose
which is one of the most disappointing elements of the book and the film. Which is, what did they do in the end? They did like a Twin Towers style bombing of a credit card company. Yeah, they took down a high-rise tower that was a credit card company and smashed up a Starbucks. And I was like, show me the part of this that isn't just you acting out, and I'll believe this is more than just frat boy, pseudo nihilistic edgelord shit that you'll grow out of as soon as you have your first child.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So, like, how do you determine? Because they, in their own mind, they are fighting for a cause they believe in, and I think they genuinely think they are fighting the system and rebelling against it properly for their cause, too. You know what I mean? Like, how do you evaluate when it's too far on one end and what isn't?
Well, you can't really evaluate anything without stating the objectives first. And this is true of therapy, life coaching, businesses, strength training protocols. We can only really evaluate it when we know what the objective was that we were trying to start off with. Are you trying to get out your late stage capitalist irrelevance, the fact that you're so completely fucking irrelevant, and as Marx would have it, so completely alienated from your labor and the fruits of your labor that you're going insane? Well, if that's what you want to do, you can box and you can do MMA just like they did. Problem fucking solved. If you're actually trying to propose a new system, a new way of doing things, that would be truly revolutionary. I've never been against a revolution. I'm against fakes, and I'm against counterfeits who are playing into the hands of oligarchs. And I don't know, I've not heard a good proposal for a revolution. Not one. Not one.
Yeah. It's tough because I like the sentiment of rebellion and revolution, and especially in cases of I can't say a word without having it be a buzzword, of injustice, right? However, this last year, man, has made us both reevaluate so many fucking things.
Cool.
Like, we have seen micro simulations. Oh wait, what is it? The blah of a revolution, the blank of the essence.
It was simulation, but I think they said simulacra to be fancy. Yeah, the simulation of a revolution.
Yeah, like seeing the simulations of revolution in the last however amount of time, like this, I look at it, I'm like, yo, this is not working. Like, y'all are eating each other alive. It's not doing anything. It's purely symbolic. There's nothing here at all. And I guess that's why I'm more leaning towards, even with my newer content on my main channel, is just like, chill the fuck out. Like, yeah. I feel like that's even a part of the revolution, but that's also a passive activity. Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, like, where is the line here of the correct mode of action, especially in this situation? Because the younger generations are willing to take action in their own way, whether even though it most likely involves posting hashtags and infographics, but they're ready for something, and the way that the action is taken, especially in this demographic, I'm like, bruh, I don't know, you're gonna destroy the garden that feeds you here.
Well, I mean, I do have some thoughts on that. I think I vaguely prepared something for tonight yesterday. I kind of did it unconsciously when I was walking around yesterday. So I think part of it is we probably need to redefine what it is that we're here for. We need to have some sort of a sense of why are we here? And I don't see a political revolution in our future. It must be spiritual.
That's right. So I'll add on to that. I think the most proper mode of action in my head so far is a revolution that involves open, level-headed discussion about our place in the world.
It's not a bad start. It's not a fucking bad start to say, like, what are we? What? And this is the Douglas Murray question. What kind of a world are you looking to create? It's such a wonderful, simple question. You look at some of these fucking nutters out there and some of the material that they're trying to impose on children as young as 4 in regards to people's sexuality. And I offer the benefit of the doubt. I offer a degree of well-intentioned naivety, but perhaps in the minds of some of these people. But it's a good question to ask them, like, what kind of a world are you trying to create? Why does a 4-year-old need to know what the sexual preferences of a fully grown adult are, and then be told they have to respect them?
Yes.
I was careful, wasn't I?
Yes, but I was gonna say, yo, guys, if you don't know Blue's Clues, like that fucking children's cartoon, they straight up put like a jingle in it explaining like sexuality preferences in it. And I'm like, at 4 years old, I could barely open my fucking mouth, dude.
All sexuality preferences except the heterosexual one
Yeah.
that made the child appear.
Right.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling. Like, if you're going to do that, and then you exclude heterosexuality, I'm like, where did this child come from again? Were they born in a lab, or did they come from a sperm and an egg? Why are we excluding heterosexual? Let's not have a conversation with kids about sexuality, but let's not exclude heterosexuality.
Sure. I remember like when I was even like 7 or 8 years old, my older cousins would be like, "Hey, so Pierre, do you like girls yet?" And I was always like, "I don't know. Like, it's weird." You know what I mean? Like, there was no place for anybody around that age and younger to even begin the fucking discussion. Regardless, I think that's a separate thing, but I guess we could go down if you would like. But I guess in my opinion, in terms of the situation about taking the right mode of action in terms of level-headed, non-destructive revolution is, I think, the first real logical and reasonable step is to first be able to have the really hard conversations of what we're supposed to be doing, or what is the purpose, reason, or what we really want in terms of who we are as people and our lives. And if we can't even get that question out, how the hell are we going to find the answers? And that's one thing that kind of irritates me when I see people constantly like, but we can't just keep asking questions. We need to get it now. Like, what do you want us to do? Like, I see comments even on our stuff sometimes. Like,
where's the solution? Where's the fucking solution?
That's a lot of problems that you laid out here, but are we going to talk solutions yet? Bro, I don't got a fucking app for the fucking meaning and purpose of a human fucking nihilistic existence, man. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we can properly, if we can properly do that first, even if it takes fucking 5 years plus, at least 5 years to just have that discussion, maybe we can do things along the way. But before we burn everything down, perhaps we can just like ask and talk to each other without being accused of racist and misogynophobic.
Well, there you go. You see, we actually say if we tried to do 2 hours of solutions, and it was like Richard and Pierre's idea of how society should look, we would get into very shady territory very quickly, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a hard, controversial thing. Well, nowadays it is.
Well, now it is. So if you said to me, how does a society be run? I would like, well, a society is made up of people, or a nation is made up of people. And in order for people to appear, men and women need to have sex. So it's heteronormative then, the world that you're creating. No, it's just that in order for people to be made, a man needs to put his pee-pee inside the vajayjay of a lady.
Why am I getting nervous? Why am I getting an instinctual nervousness?
Why?
When you have to state how every human being was created.
This is how much we hate truth now. We hate truth. You know, my favorite
sweating.
Yeah, of course you are.
From you stating the most normal, universal human truth.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
In Bosnia, I can't remember the word for it, but one of the favorite swear words that I heard there being used all the time, sorry folks, this is extremely vulgar, was your mother's vagina. But the shorter word for vagina that comes from German, cunt, and it would just be uttered under the breath. Like if you dropped your keys, you could be like, your mum's cunt. Or if you stomped, you'd be like, your mum's cunt. And I was like, that's a really interesting swear word to have. There's even swearing where you can tell people to go back up their mother in Bosnia. They probably have it in Serbia as well. They're very good at swearing in the Balkans. Go back up your mum. And I'm like, it's been on my mind a lot recently. And I was like, that's how I swear now. Like privately, if I want to swear at something, that's how I swear at somebody in traffic. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Like that's come out of my unconscious in the last sort of 6 months. And I'm like, I think it's missing. That's where we all came from. Your ma, right?
Yeah. Whoa.
Okay. So everybody
Actually-
watching, it's not a nice, you don't want to think about it, but you came from your mum. And you came from your mum because your mum had sex with your dad. So what kind of a society can we create if we can't say that? None. You can't create one. You can't create one. Listen, you can say what kind of a society you want for the people and not do it yourself. I look at Douglas Murray. He's a gay man. I think he's roughly the same age as me. He'll always be gay. He's never going. But if I said to him, he's a conservative, like, how should society be structured? He would be like, well, that would be necessary. I don't do it. I've got no plans on having kids. I'm a single man at age 43. I'll probably always be doing this. So there's a disparity that you must also allow for between what the individual does and what they recommend is good for the majority. And this is where we have discretion and we say, well, some people are gay. Great. Some people like to be single, like me. That's a legitimate preference. Some people are this, some people are that. And that's what we call diversity. But we don't have diversity now. We have a homogenous orthodoxy.
Right. I had a thought.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fucking okay.
I think I had one, but it's not legal nowadays to do that. Got it. My problem now is the banning of questions. That I think that in the end, when I see everybody communicating with each other, whether it be what the fuck's happening with the government, but mostly with the people, questions are offensive. You know what I mean? Like, if you even bother being skeptical or asking a question about something, you are actually a big part of the problem, and it's really offensive for you to even begin that question. That's my problem. I have my own beliefs. I question my own beliefs all the time, and if anything, it strengthens or can dismantle what I believe. But in some
it's called critical thinking. It's the essence of good philosophy.
What is that? I don't need that. We're not allowed to do that. We can't do that anymore. Am I echoing?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, that's my biggest problem, is because I enjoy the function of what you call critical thinking.
Well, you enjoy thinking, Pierre. That's a remarkable thing in and of itself.
Yes, and it's not even necessarily I have an agenda to push. I don't really want to enforce my morality or beliefs on people. I enjoy the act of thinking. I enjoy the act of asking questions and figuring out how things work. That's how I know how to do things. I ask the question of how to do it, then I figure it out, and through the function of figuring it out, it solidifies what I know and what I learn. And if we can't do, no wonder why fucking people don't have a goddamn skill or talent nowadays. The first way to get it is you ask a question, and that's how to do it.
Yeah. Yes, if you ban thinking and you ban debate, it's a really good way of stultifying progress. And we need to consider the possibility that all of this, including the devolution, is progress. That's what I was going to say before, but then the sunburn got to that part of my brain and frazzled it. What we're going through right now with the world being shut down could be progress. That we shouldn't assume that progress is positive in the sense of something that feels good. And we would also need to remember that what's not good for the individual may be good for the collective. So some of us may need to not be, including me, including you. We may, for the good of the collective, we may need to not be, and we might die, which is something that humans have been doing for a long time, as far as I can tell.
They don't. You can't have that happen. People can't die, Richard. People can't be born.
Will never die.
People can't be born, and people can't die.
So imagine the level of infantilism in a culture where you can't be born or die.
You can't say where you're born from, and people can't die. Dude, what the fuck? What the fuck is this, bro?
I came from my mum. You all came from your mum. One day I'll be so super dead and so super forgotten. So forgotten, and all of you will be as well. And Pierre.
No. Just get the injection.
Yeah, we'll all be dead. We go from our mum into the grave, from yin to yin. That's how it goes, baby. Embrace it. It's really good. And then you go, oh, nothing. See, a lot of our anxiety and our depression is the fact that we're out of touch with reality. We're out of touch with truth. And then we're like, oh, give me the thing that makes me feel good. And I'm like, you're sat inside of a steel box covered in spikes. I can't make that comfortable. I don't know how. Just take the truth. Just accept the truth of what you are and what life is and move forward and stop being so silly.
It's why I have come to terms with the change on my new content on my main channel, which is really serious, intentionally boring, no flashiness, no flashy editing. Because I don't think I, in good conscience, can provide zombifying emotional satiation. I feel a sense of guilt, or not guilt. What is it? I feel there's some sort of morality crossed when I'm just was it pacifying? What's the word?
Pacifying.
But there was another one too. Placating, like
placating. Damn, Pierre with the vocab.
Yeah, and a part of me feels like I can't, in good conscience, just pacify and placate people while I know these things are happening up here. It doesn't feel right, man. And obviously, I have the second channel to kind of get that out in that situation, but I'm not going to try to grow and provide a weird amalgamous blob of canceling irritated, zombies, like something to feed off of. It's like sticking my neck out there for werewolves and vampires so I can do something. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right, especially at this stage, man.
Oh, that's fair enough. You don't want to lie to people. You don't want to live a lie. You'd rather tell the truth. So just do it. Just tell the truth.
And I probably would have been fine living a lie if this whole fucking thing didn't happen, man. But now that it's happening, it's like I can't be in this costume any longer.
It's an apocalypse. It's meaning, it's a revelation for everybody, and it's revealed a lot. And I think there's tremendous opportunity here. But I also, it's ever been thus, there's also tremendous tragedy here and more tragedy to come. And we just have to accept that. We just have to take it. We just have to take reality as it is. This is what it is, and we'll either rise to meet the occasion or we won't this time around, and we might get another go in another 2,000 or 5,000 years, or not.
Yeah. And like, I mean, talk about being an entertainer. The most meaningless situation to be in now,
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say, like, in World War II, the people that went up on stage and made the troops happy for half an hour
okay.
Forget about things, probably doing an amazing amount. Yeah. It's not nothing.
Okay,
it's not nothing to make people laugh. It's not nothing to make people feel good for a minute.
Let me nuanceify this. You like that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
In the postmodern, late-stage capitalistic, consumerist social media world, when everyone's an entertainer, no one's an entertainer, and the type of entertainment that sprouts from this situation is beyond, it's like post-entertainment. Like, I don't know, I don't have the word for that exactly, but everyone's a content creator, social media influencer, people drinking fucking boba, getting paid $40,000 a month, it's doing silly dances like that. Entertainers just 40 years ago, fucking moonwalking and shit, like playing, like shredding on a guitar, like crazy vocal abilities, whatever it might be. But in this post-entertainment era, we find a piece of toast falling down funny. I laugh at it. I think it's hilarious. But I think in this environment, it's completely changed the utility and the function of entertainment as well.
I agree with you. I think I have a way out of that particular conundrum for you. I think there's a way that entertainment has gone that is done in bad faith for views and for likes and for money.
Yeah.
If you set up your camera and you're like, people are really fucking suffering, man. They're really in a lot of pain. Just make them happy for a minute. You would do something else, and everybody would do something else, but you must start with that intent, and you need to come from that place. Then you're being sincere, and you won't hate yourself because you're not trying to do it for likes or follows, or you're doing it from kindness. You're doing it from compassion. That guy I used to work with, the compere, Reginald D. Hunter, when I used to do nightclub door work, he used to say that to the comics. He would be like, these people are here, they're working class people, they're trying to relax. And if a comic started going on about politics or anything, he'd be like, they didn't come here to hear you jerk off. They didn't come here for that.
Yes.
You know,
and
you can talk politics, but you've got to make the people laugh.
Yes. And I think in timeless comedy, there's an element of truth. There's a transcendental element in there. And I think that's maybe what I'm trying to lean at. With good art and comedy, film, music, it's usually pointing at an element of truth or something transcendental in that world. And obviously there's mindless entertainment and it has its function too. But when everything is mindless entertainment, what does it mean when everyone's a mindless entertainer consuming the same mindless entertainment? That becomes robbed of its intrinsic value and function. That when it used to be, when people would go to war and shit, you had the comedians were there to keep you fucking alive.
Well, they were rare as well. You didn't have 10,000 to choose from pumping out material 24 hours a day. You had a guy with a banjo that would come for 45 minutes, and that was it.
Yes. And like maybe like you see Johnny Cash performing at Folsom Prison, right? Mm-hmm. Or is that Elvis? I don't know if I can remember. Whatever.
That's correct. Yes, he performed at Folsom Prison.
Yeah. So then you see that intrinsic value applied there too, and not everybody was Elvis at the time. And now it's just some 13-year-old e-boy providing that same function to when everything is the same thing. You know what I mean? It's this weird. I mean, has there ever been a situation like this? Never.
There really hasn't. I do think there's tremendous scope for you to connect people from kindness and say, like, I know that this sucks right now, so let's just talk about Gucci flip-flops and no disrespect, or you totally can. It's the sincerity that counts. It's the human to human connection that counts. But you're right, it's a very flooded market. Some of that stuff isn't really entertainment. I mean, you're talking about a different area of your YouTube, the younger people and all that. A lot of it is just bitching at each other. It's like fucking, to me, from the outside in, it looks like schoolyard shit. Abra and Preach I've listened to a bit more this week, and they made me laugh. And they're talking about serious stuff, and they still made me laugh.
Right.
You can do stuff like that.
Entertainment is either mindless nonsense or you have to be the propagandistic digital megaphone to reiterate exactly what I believe. That's what I see YouTube now. YouTube now is like, you have to be the schoolyard teacher to lecture us. We don't even want to play on the playground. We just want you to just talk to us like this, and TikTok.
Yeah, because they're saying, do our thinking for us, please.
Right.
And what to refuse that is hard.
And what I see happening now is the demand, particularly from the younger audience, I guess everybody, but I guess what it's weird is when I see the younger audience demanding influencers, whoever else, to be a propagandistic megaphone as entertainment. That's their entertainment.
Makes them feel something. Makes them feel like they're part of a movement. They're in an army. They're taking ground, all from the bedroom, just with the twiddle of their thumbs.
Speaking of the bedroom, I sent you that TikTok of the girl sitting in her room while her boyfriend was ranting about politics, and her boyfriend was like, Israel, Palestine, this is corrupt, and this is corrupt, and this is corrupt, blah blah blah, and she's kind of like staring off and like kind of dealing with it. But the comments, and it had like almost 1 million likes. The comments were like, "This sounds like my dream date. I love. Who is that guy? I love him. He's great. This is amazing." I was like, "That's your standard of a romantic interaction. That's what charm, personality, and charisma is equated to now."
Yeah. I have actually had girls catch me on a rant and tell me that they really, really liked it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. You're just wired different.
Hey, guys. So I'm starting my own pickup artist school. And the number one step is to speak about politics and just reflect exactly what they believe. And then
if that worked, I would kill. I would kill. I'd just say to her, what do you want me to go off on? What do you want me to go off on? Give me a subject. I'll give you 15 good minutes off the top.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're in a long-term relationship and you're seeing people, obviously you have to talk about like your beliefs on things. But like it's just interesting to see that just an overwhelming majority of people like fiending for their significant other or some date to do that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. There is, you have to be careful of that, like addiction to hearing other people rant or go off on things that we would like to. I don't know. There is something. I asked people on one of my lives whether like they liked it on my main channel. I went off on a rant and they said yes, we like it. And I was like, oh, I know why you like it. It's so that you can vicariously enjoy the little picture of the little man shouting about, but the voice is the voice that's in your head, and you just like it being externalized. And they're like, yes, that's what we like. You just be the externalized, angry little man that we all carry inside of our heads.
Yeah. And I agree. Like that's the same reason why I find George Carlin entertaining, and you know whoever else that does this. And there's a time and place for that too. But when everything has to be like that, and people are demanding people that talk about knitting to talk about Palestine, like, dude, like you just make sweaters. Like you don't need to do that.
Nobody did that to me. Nobody did that. Oh, I think one person who I'd never heard from, and it was it looked like the Instagram account of a Turkish restaurant, said something like, it would be really cool if you talk about Palestine. And I was looking at this, I was like, I've never heard from you before in my life. So I just messaged back, really cool? Question mark, nothing. They didn't say anything back.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know,
I'm
entertainment.
Not your little mouthpiece, you bastards.
Yeah, entertainment and what people find entertaining and entertainers, influencers have just really morphed in the last fucking 2 years to this post-entertainment era. Like there should be a name for this, and I'll figure out something to coin. But it's beyond entertainment. It's beyond art. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
I've said to you privately numerous times, I think that you would get more traction in your videos than you think by just talking about what you're thinking about right now. Just whatever, just try it. Give it at least one go where you're just like, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking about right now. And remember, just have the intent in mind, like that maybe you want to help people to think things through for themselves, and you want to feel good, and that you have some love for your audience. And beyond that, just say whatever the fuck you want. But tell the truth. Like whatever you're experiencing is true at that moment. Just tell that truth.
Yeah, sure. I'm already kind of on the path for that, but I don't know. It's just a interesting thing to see what, like, I don't know what happened, but I mean, fucking art entertainment is some weird Frankenstein.
Let me tell you, back to our original conversation, a couple of things that happened to me since I came to Ibiza. When I was in Prague, do you know what my screen time was going up to? My screen time in Prague, not including Oculus usage, was going up to 9 hours a day. Do you ever look at your screen time?
It's probably around the same amount.
Since being here with no effort whatsoever, I'm not trying not to look at my phone. It's now 2.5 hours a day. Bearing in mind, I work through my phone and I'm looking for rentals. So I have to answer on my phone. It's 2.5 hours a day. Environment is fucking huge. And I think in the same way that YouTube is now, it's morphing as an environment, and we should see it as an environment. That's one way of looking at this. It's a loud, noisy, vicious jungle. It didn't used to be, and it's full of hysterical monkeys. Full of hysterical monkeys now. So the environment has changed. It changes how you feel. Like I don't really go on YouTube anymore because it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel bored and shit and anxious and frustrated. So I just don't use it anymore.
Okay, so this is what happens then. When the internet, YouTube, your phone is an accessory to your life, that's when probably entertainment and art was at a different type of prime. It was okay. But because of the lockdowns, that kind of like sped up this reliance on living a digital avatar. The entertainment is no longer the target of the social media world. It stretches into other aspects of life. So you have politics, religion, socialization, anger therapy, ranting, blah, 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 blah. So then the environment stretches from what used to be fun entertainment to a visor that goes around you with every other aspect of human life.
Yeah, it's not as innocent anymore. It's not like to just go on and try and entertain people without saying, I fucking hate Republicans or I fucking hate that. They want to know, like, for me, I just need to know where you're coming from before I even, like, where are you?
Someone commented that on my video, like one of my videos. They literally said, I think the reason why people like want their influencers to speak on politics is like, for me, I just want to know if I can support them in good faith, because otherwise, if they're problematic, then I can't support them.
And when people are jerking off over porn, will they eventually want to know which way the stars are voting?
Yes. Are you kidding me? That I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I was going to say something gross. I fucking
but I
some girl beating off over a guy who she's loved for years, and then she finds he votes the wrong way. She's like, "That's it. Never going to beat off over him again."
I bet you if we actually looked this up, it's probably happened once, but I think it's going to be a lot more popular.
God help us. I don't know whether I want us to survive anymore.
Hey, imagine. Hey, Richard, what hand do you wank with? The right or the left?
I'm straight libertarian. I let people who work hard do it for me.
With your center?
That's libertarianism, baby.
It feels the best and it utilizes everything.
Let's all work together. I mean, I'm a left-leaning libertarian too, so I believe in collectives. I believe in reciprocation. You've got to lube up the means of production.
The means of production.
Just got hot in here.
Fucking hell. I mean, at this point, I really wouldn't be surprised if that became a thing. Like, which hand do you use?
Yeah. And we should message the political compass on Instagram, and they should divide up like sex toys or masturbation styles by right libertarian, left libertarian. I bet he could do it, or she. Sorry to misgender. Yeah. I don't know who. I bet Zay could do it.
Yeah.
So, I think it will get to that point where it infects absolutely everything. It needs to, but that will be part of the progress. There needs to be collapse is also part of progress. Disintegration is also part of progress sometimes.
Well,
should we go on? Sorry.
Yeah. Let's take some questions, but I will say I am starting to see the tide turning. I'm seeing a lot more people online, younger people too, just trying to shift the extremism.
Yeah. No, I think it's exhausting, and it's been a trend. How dangerous is that? Like, our political philosophy has been a trend. Being ultra, maybe the next trend will just be that you say to a kid, "Do you care about?" No, fuck that. I don't care. And it won't be the "fuck you, I don't care" of my generation, where we didn't even really particularly know their names unless you were very interested in it. It will be like a transcendent "fuck you, I don't care." I know perfectly well who they are, but I'm not discussing it with you. And that will be the new sort of hipster, postmodernist, ironic thing to do. Would just be like, "Oh no, I'm not engaging on that subject."
Yeah, I think so.
Or they'll all swing right.
Yeah.
Any questions, folks? Is it a Taurus on my shirt? Yeah, this is it's an Under Armour thing, and for some reason there was a period where they put bulls on their shirts, and there's no meaning behind it.
No.
There is a meaning behind this, though. Illuminati confirmed. 666, baby.
Yeah. So far, what I see right now, it's I think the first step, and it's the backlash against cancel culture coming from what you would call young Gen Z left, and they're starting to kind of like push back on this whole idea of canceling. It's bad for you, bad mental health, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, well, that's good, because we need to push back on cancellation. We need to push back on extremely divisive identity politics. I don't want to see segregation come back around.
Good Lord.
Any fucking form.
Good Lord. No, please.
But it's already happened. Well, I don't need to tell you. You know.
I know.
Yeah. Special award ceremonies at school now, and it's not good, kids. We don't need that. We need to unify.
Have questions.
Question. Jane D says, "We know." Oh, he's Illuminati. Says Pookie baby. Jane D says, "We know you've joined." I joined twice. This is the 33rd Mason. This is how we greet each other. I just revealed it. I'll probably be killed now for revealing my secrets. Oh, here we go. Somebody's asking me questions in Spanish, Pierre. ¿Cómo podemos revolucionar en la educación ante las nuevas formas que se implementa en la sociedad?
How are we able to revolutionize the education system before we form a new society, before we implement a new society or something like that?
I'm not even sure. I don't know. You might be from Latin America, but ante las nuevas formas, I think you're saying in view of, which I don't know if I've never heard that before, but yeah, in view of the new forms which they're implementing in the society. Las nuevas formas de qué? De formas de educación o formas de sociedad. Yo no te entiendo muy bien, lo siento. Si quieres preguntar otra vez, yo voy a intentar darte una respuesta inteligente.
So how do we change the education system to implement into the new society is what I'm assuming that means.
Something like that, but there was a thing around antes las nuevas formas, which I would understand as before the new forms, but maybe it meant in view of the new forms, but I wasn't sure about the new forms of what. I didn't ask you about this. I meant to ask you this. If you could pull the plug on the internet, would you? Did you hear about the internet going down yesterday?
What?
Yeah, of course. They've wiped it. There was a worldwide internet crisis with major sites going down everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. And then if you look in the news today, Sky News was reporting it, BBC News reported it, and I couldn't find anything on it today. One thing I would say about this is, if I was a tyrannical government body, I definitely wouldn't let the internet keep going so that conversations like this could happen. Absolutely not. I mean, imagine this times 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, as is happening right now. You just can't have that. So fake cyber attacks could be a thing to close the internet down. Would you close it, Pierre? You wouldn't close it, would you, if you could?
I don't think so, man.
Okay. How would you encourage critical thinking when it's apparent you're witnessing indoctrination in the classroom? How would you encourage critical thinking, Pierre?
Do you have something that I could bounce off of? Because
well, you know, normally when people ask questions like this, they mean like, I mean, I've written programs for the British education system that were used, amazingly enough. I wouldn't want to write a program for the pre-existing system. I would say, no, we scrap the pre-existing system, and critical thinking becomes the primary thing a child learns how to do. To learn how to think, not what to think, is the number one top priority.
Yeah, it needs to be the foundation of every educational field. Like every subject, that has to be the underlying thing. But if you want to take it the modern approach, you make it a TikTok hashtag trend somehow. Hashtag critical thinking. You know, you come up with a counterpoint of whatever narrative it is, and then that's like your thing.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it could be done, and this relates to this question. So the question in Spanish apparently was, can we use education to prevent all the negative changes we can see coming in society? The education system, in my humble opinion, is beyond fucked. It's just beyond fucked. So in my benign dictatorship, we'll be scrapping it and we'll be starting again. We're going to find another Q. A QAnon. Where have they gone?
Go on, mate. Sorry. Yeah, so I guess, I think the most important thing is critical thinking, because that could apply to practically anything that you ever read and believe, or any subject at all. Like, that should be the number one focus on anything. Criticize your own thoughts. Like, that's it. Just begin with that. Criticize your own thoughts.
The Pam says yes. How to think independently and critically. With it's so important, and it's so simple. You just say, what do I think? And then you answer, and then you go, how do I know that that's true? And then you answer, and then you go, have I ever seen any evidence that that is not true? And what I learned to do at quite a young age, because for a time I wanted to be a lawyer, was, we should train kids to do this, is you should fight both sides of a case. You should learn the pros and cons for capital punishment, and then you should be able to argue with just as much skill and passion against capital punishment, and then you can think.
Too much work.
No, it's my brain. I don't want to do it. Last question, I guess. Is it possible to promote good character and higher values without religion?
I mean, yeah, but yeah, I mean,
yeah. I found out recently that in the French Revolution, they created a religion of pure reason during the French Revolution. I don't know whose that was. Maybe it was Robespierre's. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, yes.
Good character and higher values.
I see where this question's coming from, because I've seen those, like, what do you call, street preachers that always ask this question. How do you know that's right if you have no objective higher power such as God to validate the morals that you have?
Well, how do you even know what a value is? When you lose God, I mean, you lose everything, man.
Yeah. Hey, man, some locations just feel better, and sometimes there ain't a reason for it. You just know.
You just feel it. It's like feeling music. Or I did a bachata class just before, Pierre. It's amazing.
You danced again.
I paid the instructor that I had here in 2019, because classes are not fully legal, to do a private session with me by the beach. I was dancing bachata right before I started this stream. It was beautiful. I loved it.
That's why you're such in a good mood. I get it now.
The sun, the beautiful sights here, everywhere, and dance bachata, because it's wonderful. Life is good.
We
should all dance.
We just need a sun and a little bit of dance, and everything will be fine.
That's what my new culture will look like.
I am taking at least a month or two in a sunny place this winter. Like, I am not gonna fucking sit my ass in fucking cold ass Central Europe for that 6 months again, man. Like, that's no fucking way.
Don't do it. I mean, and especially if there's like any kind of a resurgence in the flu season and another lockdown, you've got to find your way out, man. It's just death on legs. Prague was so tough, man. I only did 3 months. Pierre did fucking 8 months of lockdown.
Yeah, I went through two big lockdowns, man. Like,
yeah, because it's kind of lifted now, right?
Yeah, everything's kind of like in motion again. You can eat in restaurants and you can go outside and stuff.
Any bars open or anything?
I think so. I haven't really done it, but
you've not gone out now because the whole thing has driven you into introversion.
I just stopped giving a fuck.
Look what lockdown did to people. It broke poor Papi Pierre.
Bro, my spirit, bro, it's in shambles, dude.
I love it. This is the sign of true progress.
But this is like with the sun and the heat, it's made it like this absurdist broken shambles where it's kind of like clownish. Is it like, oh fuck, you know? It's like, you know what I mean?
I'm so sad.
It's like, bro, dude, it's hot as shit.
And how lucky you are to have such a sympathetic friend like me to stand at the sides and go, yes, it sucks, doesn't it?
Well, I'm going to get my ass to where the hell you are and try to get around Southern Europe. And hopefully the next two weeks, I actually heard like the procedure is not as complicated as I made it out in my head.
No, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. As long as you follow the rules wherever you go, you'll be okay. I should have a rental here soon so you can come and stay.
Fuck yeah.
I think we're done.
Before I go, dude, I'm getting old. I went to a physiotherapist earlier today. My disc is fucked up. Like one of my discs, it got a
fuck out of here.
Bro, look at this shit. Look at this shit, bro. I got a tramp stamp, dude. I got a fucking tramp stamp.
Go get yourself a fucking pipe and slippers.
Dude, I got a fucking
Sell your wheel.
I got like a fucking sprained disc. Being an old ass man reflecting on my nihilistic existence. It hurts if I bend over to get up, dude. So I gotta do like these fucking cobra press ups where I gotta arch my back like I pop
the yoga going.
You know what I mean, dude?
Dude, get yourself to a yoga class.
Ah, fuck. Ooh, maybe.
Yoga girls would love you. He's so spiritual. How do you know he's spiritual? He has tattoos.
What up, bitches?
I'm a vegan, yeah.
What up, bitches? Y'all want to veganize with me?
Just lie. Just nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know. Yeah, you should definitely go to yoga. It will help with all that stuff. How did you do it to your back?
Apparently, my posture is really shitty. And it started happening last year when I was trying to do those sit-ups on the bars that one time. And I've been like basically drilling in that disc for the last however long in my life. But that thing kind of like set it past. So basically, I'm gonna go to yoga now. I'm gonna work on my manifestation, and I'm gonna start cleaning up my diet. I'm going to drink a lot of soy tofu, soy rice, soy broccoli, soy dildos, soy gin and tonics, baby. I'm becoming a new man.
Good. You're becoming something that transcends masculinity. Good.
Yes.
I'm glad. You deserve it.
Or maybe I just like flipped too hard that I broke my lower back, bro.
Just tell people that. Just fucking lie. Who's gonna know? But yeah, that's how I did it. I did it. I done broke my bed. I done broke my bed. Ain't no disrespect. What does he say after ain't no disrespect? He justified it by saying something like,
I had to live that moment, man.
That's
I was
fine,
really
man.
in that moment.
Did you fuck my girlfriend in a pair of Gucci flip-flops? I had to live that moment. Oh, you lived the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carry on.
Ain't no disrespect, but I was really in that moment, you know? So.
Well, now I don't feel disrespected, and have at her. Have at her. What's the name of that artist so that people can look up this fascinating Shakespearean drama?
If you want to unsubscribe from Tentacle Croissant, look up what we recommended to you, and that's Gucci Flip Flops Future. And you will know.
Just remember it ain't no disrespect.
Ain't no disrespect. I'm sorry. Like if you offended, we ain't no disrespect. Sorry.
Ain't no disrespect.
And we gotta live in that moment.
Yeah, we're just living that moment. So please fill in your complaint forms just underneath here and send them to your mum.
Working my posture now.
I said to you, you're long. You've got long limbs. You've got long arms, spine. You've got to be careful in that fucking ab exercise. Pierre wants to do abs. So he does the hardest, most dangerous ab exercise first. Didn't ask Daddy, did you?
Go hard or go home.
Go hard and your ass has to go home or the hospital.
All right, man. I think it's time.
Namaste, bitches. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your attention. Are you doing a Pierre Extra afterwards?
No, I'm helping my friend edit a wedding video. I'm going to make him travel to 6 different locations with the green screen.
I'm not even going to ask.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing this space with us, everybody. May you all be well, and we will speak to you soon. That sounded wet.